Hello, everybody. Welcome to MAWS Talks Wrestling, episode 14. We are your hosts. I am Lunakage.
No, I'm Glenburg.
And we are right on well, not the heels, I guess they would be considered the toes of Wrestlemania.
Correct.
We saw the Hall of Fame, we saw WrestleMania, we saw the Raw after WrestleMania, so I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that went on between now and the last show.
Yeah, in a matter of 72 hours.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm as opposed to normally we follow the pay-per-view, we follow Raw and stuff, but since we got all that to talk about, I figure we will go through WrestleMania, and then during each thing, during each match, we talk about if there was a follow-up on Raw. I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Good segue.
So basically, start, get going right away. There's a lot of stuff to cover here. We had the pre-show, which was, I don't know if this was the reason, but I can't remember if any of the pre-shows that I've watched in a while, the pre-show matches were as good as this one, because this was a really good, the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team Elimination match.
Yeah, it's still considered WrestleMania, so that's probably why too.
Yeah, like they didn't really plug it as the pre-show. They plugged it as a WrestleMania match that you got for free, at least to my understanding. So it lived up to it. It was a really good match. You had Los Matadores with fucking El Torito, Rybaxel, which I guess they're officially going with that name now.
Right.
The Real Americans was Zeb Coulter, and then the tag team champions, the Usos.
Right.
The Usos won. The Los Matadores, I believe, were the first to get eliminated. Then Rybaxel got eliminated, and then it came down to the Real Americans and the Usos. The Usos won, and this started this pretty much solidified the breakup of the Real Americans. We had Antonio Cesaro and Zack Swagger go through their song and dance, where Zack's all pissed off. He puts on the ankle lock for like half a second. And, he tries to shake his hand after Zeb Coulter tells him off.
Right.
And so Cesaro's like, fuck that. So he, puts him in the swing and starts giant swinging him. That was the end of that for a while. The follow-up on Raw, there's a bunch of stuff followed up on Raw. But honestly, though, since both of the follow-ups have something to do with the other things that happened, I think we're going to skip on the follow-ups until we get to those other things.
Right. Yeah.
The match itself, though, I predicted the Usos to win, so I was correct on that assumption.
Yeah, I figured they'd win too.
Yeah, but it was a really good showing by all the guys. There was actually a Tower of Doom spot into the outside, and that was pretty cool. Like, you don't see those very often in WWE. And when you do, they're usually on the inside. So, like, this is even more rare. It was a Tower of Doom spot on the outside.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty fast-paced match. 4 teams, all of them giving it pretty much all they got. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, like all four guys are like younger guys. So yeah, they were all kind of kicking ass there. I really enjoyed that match. Like, it was a good pre-show match. Like, that's for damn sure. Like, that people got to see that for free, and that was pretty cool. So then we get into the main WrestleMania card, and the first match is Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, obviously, because whoever won, gets to go on to another match, so they want to make sure to have plenty of resting time in between this match and the next match. So I was really, really into this match. Like, this was the one I was looking forward to the most, probably, because I'm actually a fan of Triple H matches. Like,
me too.
Yeah,
it's like an event. Just looking forward to him fighting again.
Yeah, because like I mean, he's not quite as amazing as the Undertaker or anything, which we'll talk about that later. But yeah, he when he does, have a match with somebody that's good, and it's not like some people might say Brian carried him. No, there's no way. Triple H has been in the business way too long to even let himself be carried. So you know, it, both guys pulled their own weight in the match, and it was really good. And like honestly, you can kind of feel that the whole time. Triple H was like in his mind going, yeah, CM Punk, see, you could have had this. Look at this. I'm the first match on the card, and it's still good enough to be the main event. At one point, fucking Daniel Bryan hit a German suplex into a pin bridge. Triple H kicked out.
Yeah.
Triple H kicked out, but Daniel Bryan held on and did another German suplex into a pin bridge. I'm like, oh man, it's like the natural evolution of Benoit's triple German suplex. Like, they're just giving him more and more of Chris Benoit's fucking moveset. They're just trying to bring him back.
Daniel Bryan, yeah.
And then right after that, literally right after that double German suplex, Triple H did a Tiger suplex. I was freaking out because the Tiger suplex is probably my favorite belly to back suplex variation. And like I was relatively sure that move was banned in WWE, but I guess if anyone can use it, fucking Triple H can fucking use it,
Fucking COO of the company.
Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever seen a Tiger suplex in the WWE, and that was nice. I was like, oh shit, this is cool. Triple H used the crossface quite a few times. Like it looked like they were kind of reenacting the finish to WrestleMania 20, except didn't end up being the finish, obviously. So yeah, the whole match was good. Eventually, Bryan hit Triple H with the knee, just one. There was no kick out. Ooh, speaking of kickouts though, Daniel Bryan did kick out of the pedigree. So
yeah, because it's WrestleMania. You don't lose to the first finisher.
Yeah, so like I mean, Daniel Bryan kicks out of the pedigree, but Triple H does not kick out of the knee. So I thought that was pretty good. Like that was one of the ways that Triple H kind of put Daniel Bryan over a little bit. So
he sold the knee really well too. The way he hit him.
Yeah, it was a lot better than when he hit him with the knee at Hell in a Cell.
Right.
completely fucking missed, and he had to sell it anyway. Yeah, so it was a good match. I believe there's something else that I'm forgetting here about that match.
Well, of course, he wanted to make sure Daniel still didn't make it, despite being a man of his word, and he just attacked him on the outside. So
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they teased it like he might not make it to the main event.
Yeah. They were. He was working on his bad arm, bad shoulder the whole match, including putting the crossface on it and stuff. So yeah, they were making you sure. Making sure you knew that he was in bad shape, and yeah, it was a good story. I liked it. Eventually, Bryan hit the knee and won, and after getting slapped by Stephanie and completely no-selling it, just laughing in her face and stuff. It reminded me of the "you hit like a girl" thing that he screamed on that one episode of Raw.
You hit like a girl. Slap.
Yeah, I laughed harder at that probably than I should have, because I mean, she is a girl.
Right, that's the point too.
right, absolutely. So next match, I believe the next match was the 30-man battle royal.
It was.
Oh yeah, before we move on, Daniel Bryan won, and I'm pretty sure that's the prediction I made. Wasn't that the prediction I made?
Yeah, we all thought Daniel Bryan would.
Yeah, so I was 2 for 2 at this point.
I wonder. Wait, didn't you say shenanigans actually?
I think I did say shenanigans.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I still consider it a win though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, technically, shenanigans did happen. It just didn't affect who won.
Right.
I mean, like Daniel Bryan won, but then shenanigans happened, and I don't know. So we had the 30-man battle royal.
Uh-huh.
And with 30 men starting off in the ring, it was just complete utter chaos. I can only imagine what it's like being one of the wrestlers in a battle royal. Like, what do you do? Where do you go? You just grab the nearest guy to you and just start, like, like pretend hitting him. Like,
You just, it's so spontaneous. Like, he's my friend. I'll just hit
yeah,
this other guy.
right. I was surprised. Like, it didn't seem like any of the teammates that were in there turned on each other. I know Goldust and Cody Rhodes. They worked together a couple times, but they never turned on each other. Um, Kofi Kingston started, hitting the Trouble in Paradise, like, time after time on people. And there was the one spot where
Kofi
a Kofi moment where he was thrown on the outside, and he kept his feet on the steps.
Uh-huh.
And in doing so, it looked like he landed really hard on his back. Like, it was completely flat at that point. So, and he pointed to the refs. He's like, "No, look, my feet are there." And then he got back into the ring. So that was cool. It's like they do those moments to give Kofi a reason to be around. Like, we're not going to give you a title, even though you technically earned one when you pinned Randy Orton when he was champion, but we'll give you another battle royal.
Yeah, we can put you on video packages.
just once, I'd like to see, like, a guy get thrown over in a battle royal where he lands on his back, but only one of his feet touch the ground. So, like, the whole time he's like, "No, look, my other foot's in the air." So he, like, stands up on the foot that already touched the ground and just starts pogo sticking himself back into the ring. Like, I mean, that's the naturally obvious choice. I mean, like, it's nowhere near as amazing as using a chair to like pogo stick yourself. And honestly, that's harder. Like, he could have fallen over easily. Like, during that one spot during that Royal Rumble, I forget which year it was. I want to say it was the one year, 2011, I think. I forget. But he was, I forget if he was placed. He might have been slammed onto one of the announce tables, and he made JBL give him his chair, and he just started, like, using it to get to the ring.
Yeah, I remember that.
The rule is both feet have to touch the ground. At the time, none of his feet touched the ground, so I would have just, like, got down, used one foot, placed it on the ground, and then just hopped my way back into the ring. Like, it would have been easier, but, I mean, I guess it's more fun if he did it that way.
I wonder if he'd ever mess up one time doing something fancy, like, like walking on a barricade, but he meant to get back in the ring, but he actually slips and fall on the floor anyway.
I mean, if that happens, I guess that's why he, it's all right, because he hasn't been booked to win one, so he just gets out earlier,
We can't win them all. Now that'd be something JBO would say, "Well, Kofi, we can't win them all."
Right. So, I had predicted Big E to win, but I did not know that Cesaro was still in the match.
Yeah.
It was weird because, and Brad Maddox was in the match too. What the fuck? It's like they were really hurting for guys to throw in there, but because, like, my understanding was that the reason why Ryback wasn't in the match was because they had a shot at the tag team titles. So when Real Americans got the shot at the tag team titles, I just figured, neither one of them were going to be in it, but he was in it. And the second I saw him in it, I was like, "Oh man, he's winning." There's no way he's in it, but Zach's not, and Ryback's not, unless Cesaro's going to actually win it. And eventually he won it. They did a kind of a new age recreation of the WrestleMania 3 Hulk Hogan slamming Andre.
Yeah, that was hype.
Yep, it came down to Cesaro versus Big Show, final two. Cesaro lifts him up like a scoop slam and then throws him over the top rope.
You know what I always wonder now? I wonder, do guys who pick up big dudes, like, when Cena picked up Big Show at WrestleMania 20 and, like, Cesaro just did to Big Show now, I wonder, do they hurt their backs like Hogan did, or do they just have better conditioning overall?
I mean,
or technique, I should say.
it's kind of hard to say because lifting a big dude is different than lifting a lot of weight on a bar.
Uh-huh.
But I imagine if your everything is strong enough, then you probably wouldn't be too bad with it. Especially if your form is good.
Right,
Like
yeah, good
if he
form.
yeah, if he doesn't lift with his back, maybe it won't hurt his back. Like if he kept his back completely straight, I wasn't really paying attention to the arch in his back, but
Yeah, I'm sure that won't be a replay.
yeah, but I don't know. Like I assume there's some sort of some level of strain involved, regardless. Because no matter how strong you are, you're lifting a 500-pound man. It's going to be kind of hard. But
they can only help you so much.
Right. But as far as Cena lifting him for the attitude adjustment, I imagine that's nowhere near as bad because it's pretty much like he's just doing a squat, and I'm sure he's had way more weight than 500 pounds when he's doing a squat.
Right.
Especially because I've seen when I was in high school in my weight training class, I saw guys squat 500 pounds, and they were stick figures compared to Cena.
Huh. So
I'm sure that motherfucker can squat like 1,000 pounds.
So I'm guessing it really does come down to form at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, like form is everything when it comes to hurting yourself. Because I used to lift weights a little bit, and
Right.
the things that I always sucked at was deadlifting. Deadlifting a straight bar at least, because they had those little cheat bars, which you could just kneel down, and there were handles on the side, and you could lift up. But a straight bar, you had to be really, really careful not to fuck up your back like that.
It only takes one bad movement or jerk movement and you messed up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Cesaro won that one.
That was pretty hyped though. I like.
Yeah, I couldn't say it was a good match, but it was a battle royal. So, those aren't normally good as far as traditional matches go. They're just a bunch of guys hitting each other, and then a bunch of guys doing spots, and eventually somebody wins. But it was still a fun match. It definitely wasn't bad. I wasn't bored during it.
Right.
Because whenever battle royals happen, I'm always watching, and I'm like, all right, of the guys in there, who could win? And then I'm looking. I'm like, all right, I think he could win. Maybe he could win, and I'm looking at that. And then, it's kind of fun playing a game with myself of who out of these guys is going to win,
Yeah, it kind of became much clearer who was going to win as it goes on.
Yeah, like eventually it came down to what? It was Big Show, Cesaro, and who were the other guys that were in there with him?
Ziggler wasn't there. And I think the Miz was Miz was taken out by the damn Cobra. That was
funny. Oh yeah, but what were the final four?
I'm trying to remember the fourth guy, but I knew Dolph may have been like one of the last four.
I just remember thinking at one point, I'm like, I swear to God, if they don't give it to fucking Cesaro, because at one point the only guys were in there were Cesaro and older guys that really didn't need it,
Yeah.
So I'm like, if they don't give this to Cesaro, I'm gonna be relatively upset, but not too upset because I didn't really care about this match a whole hell of a lot. But it was a cool match.
I like the events that were to come after it. That kind of made it even more.
Yeah. Speaking of which, as I mentioned during the Fatal 4-Way Tag match, this was an example of a match that the follow-up kind of expanded on it. The next night on Raw, you had Hulk Hogan presenting him the trophy.
Yeah. Super Dome.
And you had Hulk Hogan presenting him the trophy, and I'm so fucking surprised that they're not using the Real American moniker and having Hulk Hogan run with it. You know, like Hulk Hogan was in there. He's like, you know what, brother, you're good, brother. You're a good brother. And then he left, and then that's when shit started happening. Hulk Hogan just like he says a couple things and he leaves. You know,
right? He's been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah. So so we find out that that Antonio Cesaro is a Paul Heyman guy, which effectively makes him a question mark. Because what is he now? Is he a heel or is he a face? Like, I mean, he's got to be heel because he's with Paul Heyman, but he's the fans love him and he's showing a little bit more face tendencies. So
I guess Paul Heyman's just a heel with appeal. Like, it don't matter which position he's in.
Yeah, I mean, he is Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had that. It looks like they're actually going full-fledged with the breakup. Jack Swagger came out, destroyed the trophy, and then they had a match on Raw. They didn't build it or anything. They just said, all right, we'll have this match on Raw. If I can't remember the winner, I'm sure if anybody won, it was Cesaro, but
it was.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we will see more of that. I can only hope, because I think they could do pretty good if they had a match against each other on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I guess Cesaro was obviously the breakout star between the two, and we kind of knew that for months.
Yeah,
Swagger's been there long.
Swagger is an eternal Jannetty. Every single tag team he's been in, his partner has always been the breakout star. He is such a huge Jannetty that even when he was with Dolph Ziggler, when that team broke up, Ziggler's a Jannetty in his own right. But he's still a lot more notable than Jack Swagger.
That's a shame.
So Swagger is known as the Jannetty in a tag team full of Jannetties.
And he probably should team up with people anymore.
Yeah, I mean, shit. But yeah, so I feel bad for the guy, but maybe you shouldn't be fucking smoking weed when you're on the cusp of a huge push.
Yeah, it's probably what's gonna happen. You're gonna be the Jannetty for the rest of your life.
Sadly, because he's got potential, man. It's not like he's bad. He's just misguided.
Right.
So.
And wasn't next Shield versus Corporate Outlaws.
The Authority, the Corporate Outlaws. That's a good name.
So the
squash match.
The Divas Shield Divas match.
The squash match. You had the Shield versus Kane and the New Age Outlaws. Literally, the Shield just came out and fucking beat everybody's ass, and then they did a double, triple power bomb. I guess what you would call that. Which is funny because I kind of did the math on it a little bit, and if we're talking about kayfabe, the double, triple power bomb would only hurt about as much as a normal power bomb for each person.
Right.
Because I mean, you got, in a triple power bomb, you got one guy hoisted on the shoulders, so that guy's going to do a full normal power bomb using both of his arms. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they have two guys on both sides adding to the force with one of their arms each. So technically, it would be the strength of two power bombs, because you got four arms, using their strength on one dude. Mm-hmm. The double, triple power bomb, each guy, you got three attackers, two defenders, and each of the defenders is only getting bombed by two arms, So, I mean, you would, but I mean, at the same time, it's kind of justifiable because the normal power bomb has been used as a fucking finisher so many times that it makes sense.
Might as well add some flash to it.
Yeah. So Shield comes in, cleans house, hits with a double, triple power bomb, which is their own WrestleMania moment there. So it was pretty nice.
Notice how they have those what's the name? What do you call those?
The masks?
Yeah, the mask. Well, I know it's a mask, but I thought it was a specific name to that type.
I don't know. I just know it's a mask.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's a face thing. So.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So they're coming out with the skeleton masks. Their follow up happens in the main event of Raw, so I guess we'll touch on it when we get there. Man, a lot of interconnecting matches here in WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What was after that? I know we had the streak match. I think that happened a little later.
I think Cena versus
Oh yeah,
Wyatt was next. Yeah.
probably the second biggest disappointment as far as outcomes go, because I really think Bray should have won.
Yeah.
I really think he should have won.
Yeah. The annoying thing about the match is you knew it had both sides to it. Like you knew if Cena was gonna win, it was because it was kayfabe, as in we need to protect his legacy. But if it was just in the long run, career-wise, Bray Wyatt would have benefited a lot more from that match.
Well, my problem with the match was that not only was it a loss for Bray, but it was a dirty loss. And I don't mean like John Cena pulled a low blow or anything, but
Right.
the Bray was essentially kind of cheating like the whole time. I mean, here he is, the guy that beat Daniel Bryan clean at the Royal Rumble, doing the sick shit. But suddenly Bray, like he's facing Cena, and he's bringing out the monster in him, I guess. Playing all these mind games, which that alone should have been enough. You cracked the one thing that John Cena has always had. His hustle, loyalty, respect. You turned him into a monster, so you can beat a monster a lot easier than you could beat a John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time, Rowan and Harper are causing distractions, and
it was like all over the place and crap.
Yeah, and Bray's sitting there like John Cena, I believe, kicked out of Sister Abigail, so that was the first time ever. But on the other hand, Bray did kick out of an attitude adjustment, so I guess that's good on his part. But at the end of the day, like, you had all these factors working against John Cena, and then John Cena overcomes the odds again. I would love if they incorporated that into a storyline, how John Cena cannot win if the odds are not against him. which would explain why he loses to CM Punk all the time. Because when it's only one guy that he should be able to beat, that's when he loses, because he's got no odds to overcome. So how is he going to do it?
He don't get to use that X factor.
All right, so they should just have it where Bray Wyatt comes out and says, "I'm gonna beat you with both hands tied behind my back." And John Cena's like, "What? What? Are you retarded? That's stupid. Why would you do that? I'm John fucking Cena." And then he's like, "But how will you win when there are no odds against you?" And then John Cena would just be completely broken, and then he'd sit there and take a pin, in the middle of the ring, with one foot.
If they broke kayfabe to do something like that.
Right. I mean, this is the reality era.
Yeah. But
surprisingly, if we're talking about the next night on Raw, did they follow up on that? I don't even remember.
No, they just pretty much had a tag team match and nothing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, well, yeah, they won the tag team match, but yeah, I kind of, just to go back to your point right quick, I do feel like if it was just a clean one-on-one, Bray could have probably won clean, just like he did against Bryan.
Yeah. I guess he could sell it as Bray was too busy trying to do something as opposed to win the match, and that's probably how they're going to do it. But I mean, that still doesn't excuse the fact that you need to keep this guy a threat. And how are you going to do that if you have him lose the very first match in a feud? I mean, sure, it's against John Cena, but I mean, Daniel Bryan won his first match against John Cena, his only match against John Cena. So I mean, what the fuck? Are they trying to build up Bray Wyatt? I don't get it.
I really hope this guy doesn't end up getting buried, because I mean, he definitely is gonna become a breakout star out of the group.
I don't think he'll be buried. He's already far too popular to get to that point. You know, like he's good in the ring. He's great on the mic. They're never going to pass him up. Not. It's not going to happen. And if it does, I'll be sad. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
All right. So Cena wins that. That was my first official non-shenanigans loss as far as predictions go.
Right.
And after that, I thought it went all down. I was thinking it was going to go all downhill because I'm pretty sure the next match was the streak match, right?
It was.
Yeah. So this match bored me to tears.
Me too. And the funny thing about the match is, if he's having a match like this, okay, well, we kind of know Undertaker's gonna win if it's this slow,
Right. It's like it was a bad match. The build-up wasn't even all that good. Like it was literally, I was looking forward more to the Divas match than I was this match. And surprisingly, the Divas match was actually better than this match.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because of the outcome. The outcome was technically, objectively, the best part about the match because it had something to it. But the match was terrible. And the thing that makes it so depressing is that this was the match that broke the streak. It wasn't one of the fucking odysseys that was the Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker saga. It wasn't the drama full, oh man, is the Shovel Man gonna take the streak of the Triple H versus Undertaker saga.
Right.
And it wasn't the heel CM Punk who's got everything going for him, including like a dead Paul Bearer, in a good match. It wasn't that. No, it was a slow, plodding, boring giant versus giant, match that
like
ended.
Undertaker tried as hard as his last few matches because when he fought against like Shawn Michaels, those were some of his hypest matches in years.
Yeah, like fucking this match, the only thing that saved the match, and I say that, knowing that the match was still bad, but the only thing that made the match noteworthy was the fact that the streak was broken.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that Brock Lesnar broke the streak. I probably would have been 10 times happier if like Brock Lesnar would have hit that third F5, Undertaker still would have kicked out, and then Brock was like, what the fuck do I got to do to put this guy away? He got out of my Kimuras, he kicked out of 3 F5s, so then he does his web redemption, like, that show Tosh.0, how they do web redemptions. WrestleMania 30, he makes up for his mistake at WrestleMania 19, and he hits the shooting star press on fucking Undertaker for the win. I would have loved that, because I would have loved to see that shooting star press again. But that didn't happen. We get a third F5 countered from a tombstone, which was kicked out of by Brock. Kicked out of the tombstone. Undertaker puts him up for another one. He reverses it to an F5, which, by the way, Undertaker cannot take correctly. He lands on his side. You're not supposed to do that. It's like a face buster / DDT. It's not a shoulder buster,
Yeah, I figured that would hurt if you landed that way.
I mean, it's still gonna hurt. I'm not saying that, but
well, yeah, of course.
But I mean, you're supposed to land on your face. Like
I don't want to land on my face.
Yeah, like the last. I don't know if I've seen Brock Lesnar hit an F5 where the opponent took it correctly since he's been back. Like I don't think maybe CM Punk did. I forget. But I'm so tired of people landing on their shoulder or like landing on their shoulder, rolling onto their back after getting F5'd. It's a fucking face buster, people. Come on.
They never talk about that in the back. Like you're supposed to land correctly.
I mean, I guess the point is the land is as safe as you can. And the only reason I'm giving him shit for this is because F5 is one of my favorite moves. So when I see it pulled off all sloppily, I kind of get a little irritated. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like he hits a third F5, completely anticlimactic, gets the pin, and what followed was one of the greatest WrestleMania moments ever.
Yeah.
Just because because it happened. It wasn't the match, and it wasn't who took it. Everybody immediately woke up. Like, everyone, including me, was like, what happened?
Me too. I don't remember a time in recent memory when I actually was this shocked about something in wrestling.
Yeah, like, it was the kind of thing where you felt your fucking heart literally jump into your throat, and it's trying to get out. Like, and that is the only thing that makes this a success. The match was bad, definitely. That you're never going to be able to say otherwise. I honestly think, and I'm sure many people are going to disagree with me because it's kind of a stupid statement to make, sure, but I think fucking Goldberg versus Brock at WrestleMania 20 was a better match than this, personally. Because, like, I mean, at least I was able to watch that one all the way through, and maybe it was just because it was such a bad match that I was able to watch and go, this is silly. But, like, I really couldn't even, my attention was just not on Brock versus Taker.
One thing I just wanted to add is, it's almost like he needed to lose in a match, or it wouldn't have been interesting, like you said, because even if Taker won, everybody would just feel like, oh, okay, Taker is 22-0, yay! All right, moving on with life.
Right.
You know.
But like the thing about the way they carried it out and had like a celebration, nobody talked. Literally, this is every single person in the building, all 80,000 people, 76,000, I think, were just silent. Yeah. Like there was a little bit of the rustle of the crowd, but it wasn't a cheer, it wasn't a boo. It was just like everyone was just fucking frozen. The commentators didn't say shit.
The reactions were priceless.
The music, there was no music going off. It's like time froze. And that was magical.
And then to put the cherry on top, when they had the screen with the 21-1.
21-1.
It was kind of chilling looking at it too.
And then, like, after they all stood up, had a standing ovation. There was "Thank you, Taker" chants and stuff, and it went about as well as you possibly could have wanted. The streak ending. Right. Again, I just wish it was in a better match, but basically, it was funny. Because looking at Taker's reactions, because, you know, you got plenty of close-ups on him after he came to and everything, he didn't look like he was happy. And I don't mean that in a kayfabe way, like he was disappointed for losing. He looked like he might have been pissed off that was the match that ended the streak. Like, he might have been feeling like everyone else was. He was like, man, like, it was probably his choice for the streak to end. Like, that was probably all him. But he was like, man, I can't believe fucking that was the last streak match.
Yeah, cause like you don't feel like you gave it your best, you know. I'd feel the same way
And the only follow-up we got on Raw was Paul Heyman talking shit. We didn't see The Undertaker, so we didn't get to see his side of the story. I'm thinking...
well, finish what you're saying and I'll throw it in.
I'm thinking that something that they added at an afterthought, like during the last couple of video packages before the match, where they were mentioning about how even death is, you know, growing old and stuff. I'm thinking they're going to incorporate that into it. Taker might come back and just say he's getting too old for this shit, kind of thing, you know, stuff like that. It would kind of almost forgive the bad match, because then, you know, he has an excuse for it. Because if you think about Taker versus Punk, even, that match, it wasn't exactly the fastest match. It was just a good match because it was just a good match. Like, the Undertaker matches kind of stopped being, you know, these crazy, you know, ridiculous matches after Shawn Michaels. Like, the Triple H match was good. The Hell in a Cell match, it was dramatic. Like, it wasn't necessarily a good match, but it told an amazing fucking story. But you could definitely make a case if you go back and watch WrestleMania 28 and 29. You can definitely see how Undertaker slowed it up quite a bit in both of those matches.
Yeah, I wonder if another reason he didn't show up, because they did mention him having like an injury.
Yeah.
Like a concussion. Yeah.
I mean, kayfabe-wise, if you're going to take 3 F5s, you're going to end up with a head injury. And that's kayfabe, so, you know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, we didn't hear from Taker, but that obviously was a loss on my prediction because I did not predict Brock to take the streak.
That's what made it so surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so right after that we had the Divas match,
Hmm.
and I feel bad for those Divas because right after the streak ends, nobody cared about anything. Like it would be it 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 wasn't until halfway through the main event that the crowd started coming around again because and this honestly, even though it was kind of a big clusterfuck, a big clusterfuck with all the divas, it was still probably the best divas match we've seen on the main roster in a while.
Right.
Like there was stuff happening. Like the Bellas did a double suicide dive. That was pretty cool, like um, and eventually, and I can't believe it. I can't fucking believe it. I predicted AJ to win, and she fucking won. She didn't win in the extravagant ways that I thought she would win. Well, I didn't really think she was going to win like that, but
I didn't think the whole ring would get cleared.
right, like fucking, she legitimately won, and I was like, oh man, the night's looking up, you know.
I think to me, she was at least showing that she was forcing the match. She
Yeah,
wanted it.
and it was interesting because not once did they ever negatively interact with each other in the match.
Uh-huh.
So like they weren't building, so like an anti-AJ sort of thing. Like they're not teasing the breakup as hard as they were before.
Hmm.
The aftermath of this match was her losing it the very next night to Paige, a debuting Paige.
Had a Paige turn.
Yep.
It's funny how they made Paige look so innocent and like a rookie, even though she wouldn't give two shits about acting like that on NXT.
Yeah, I think that was a little weird.
Let me pay my respects to my
senpai.
Yeah, senpai. Like senpai, I am not better than you, but
right. And we have a unified champion now. We have the NXT Women's Champion is also the WWE Divas Champion.
That's fun.
So I think that's going to be interesting. Like maybe it's not going to matter at all, and she's just going to lose the title on NXT pretty soon. And,
yeah, they might just drop it to whoever's next.
Which I think is weird because every once in a while, I mean, obviously stuff like this makes sense in real life, but if you're thinking about it in kayfabe, that shit doesn't make sense at all. Like, look at Bo Dallas, right? He's starting to get his own video packages showing that he's going to debut soon.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a guy who held the NXT title, longest reigning, right?
Right.
And then he loses it to another rookie. And then he loses his rematch to another rookie. I mean, well, to the same rookie.
Uh-huh.
So after losing twice in a row to the same rookie, let's give this motherfucker a promotion. Like, why? I don't. You know what I think should be done?
What?
I think that in order to, like, since they're kind of acknowledging NXT and the fact that there are champions over there on the main roster now, I think they should kind of make it like the champions over there at some point, maybe they can use in events, maybe like they have a time frame, I don't know. But if you hold the title over there, at some point you could cash in your NXT title, vacate it, and then have a shot at the corresponding title on WWE. So, like,
I always figured they'd probably do something like that at some point.
Yeah, so like, tag team titles, vacate those after holding them for a month or whatever they think you're ready, whatever. And then you challenge for the tag team titles on WWE, but I think the NXT main title would have a lot more of an option because obviously they're not going to give you a shot at the main WWE title. But, there's two mid-card titles, so basically it would be like choosing which one you want to challenge for, I think. So, maybe something like that would be good, but...
I mean, even if the Intercontinental Championship isn't as prestigious as it used to be, it's still a nice spot to be in. It kind of puts you on the main roster.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot better kayfabe-wise, again. I'm talking strictly as far as, like, suspending my disbelief. It's a lot better than saying, oh, I lost my, beginner mode title, but now I get to go play with the big fishes, even though apparently I'm not good enough to play with the little fishes.
Yeah.
And that might be what's happening to Paige. I mean, she's champion of both places now, Divas champion and Women's champion. But if she, as the Divas champion, loses the women's title on NXT, that would technically mean that whoever beats her for it has a shot at the Divas title. Because
damn, that's a good point. That kind of sucks. It's like adding insult to injury. On top of me taking your first title, I get a chance to take your second title.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I have, and if we're being completely honest too, the Divas don't really have much more to do than get that title. So, Paige has only been on the main roster for like 5 minutes, and she's already accomplished everything that she can accomplish as a diva in the WWE.
Right, yeah, she got both belts. I mean,
she can retire now. Like, she has nowhere else to go. She's a woman in WWE. She, what else has she got to do?
I hope her and AJ have like some Lita versus Trish kind of matches. Where
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see some good Divas matches.
Like that should be a thing, like an actual series.
And honestly, like, you could also kind of spin it like this too. You know how I was talking about a couple episodes ago about how, I think it was right after Arrival, actually, so it was a little bit more than a couple episodes ago, that they could make NXT the place for women's wrestlers to go. That's where you want them to be. But then I said, that wouldn't make sense because, it'd be kind of like a demotion. Why would you want to have it there and everything?
And it takes them off TV.
Right. So what they could do, since the women's title has been unified with the Divas title, is make those titles one title and then have that be defended on both shows. Have it be defended on WWE TV and on NXT.
It kind of gives like an international feel because NXT feels like another entity from Raw and SmackDown.
And I mean, if you think about it, NXT is still the place for the main roster women to go and have real matches.
It is. It kind of reminds me how, like, if an international person, like a Japanese wrestler, can travel to different companies and defend the title.
Yeah. I mean, like, you still got Natalya coming to NXT and having, way better and longer matches than she gets to have on Raw.
Right.
You have Alicia Fox. She goes to NXT a lot. Summer Rae is still on NXT, even though she's been on the main roster for a while. Emma, like, I don't think she's left either fully. So
I feel like it increased the talent pool. Like, it'll make the wrestling a lot better just because both belts are considered one thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I would be cool with that, but that's probably not how they're going to do it. They're probably just going to have Paige drop the title on NXT, and that'll be that. All right, I guess we should get into the main event now, shouldn't we?
Right.
We're in the overrun. Daniel Bryan. Oh, first off, you had Randy Orton come out to his band, his band, but the band that does his theme,
yes.
And you had that happen, and that was cool. But he came out first. He was a champion. He came out first, so I immediately was like, all right, rest in peace, Orton. Then you had Batista come out.
Regular entrance.
No pyro. No pyro. I was like, all right, rest in peace, Batista. And then you had Daniel Bryan come out, but it wasn't to the final countdown. So I was like, well, rest in peace, Daniel Bryan. There's no winner of this match. Go home.
It wasn't a final countdown.
So this match was good. Like, it was definitely a good match. There was plenty of good spots. The drama was really high, and that was effectively made by Daniel Bryan's arm being fucked up. You know, like he was out of the match a lot, and you know he's already injured. You know, kayfabe. So they do the spot where they hit the Batista bomb through the announce table.
That was my favorite spot of the match.
with I guess an RKO, which was technically just a neck breaker. You know, it wasn't an RKO, it was a neck breaker, but he still jumped like it was the RKO. So I guess it was like the Randy knock breaker, the Randy neck breaker. Neck spelled with a K.
It's always funny.
So it's RKB.
It's always funny considering the positioning of the move. It's considered the move. Like Batista didn't pretty much do the slam for the Batista bomb, but just because he tossed him,
Yeah.
it like has the properties of a move.
Yeah. So technically, if we're being completely critical here and we're nitpicking, that was neither a Batista bomb nor an RKO, but it was sold as such. It was just a like power bomb into a neck breaker.
It was just a tag move.
Yeah. But regardless, it was still good. And Randy Orton got much more fucked up from that than Daniel Bryan did. Not in kayfabe, but holy shit, he landed on that monitor so hard.
Damn,
like
the corner of it too.
Yeah, and he started bleeding and shit. I'm surprised it wasn't like purple and swelling. It was just kind of bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty vicious. Speaking of Randy Orton, he became the first person to ever kick out of the knee.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the best way to do it, too, because, you know, if it would have been, you know, if it would have been Daniel Bryan hitting the knee and then pinning Orton, then Orton kicking out, you know, everyone would have been upset, like, oh, you know, Randy Orton kicked out of the knee. But since, you know, since Daniel Bryan hit the knee on Orton and Batista promptly grabbed him and threw him out and then covered Orton, you had people cheering because he kicked out of the knee. It was like, oh, thank fucking Christ he kicked out of the knee, you know?
That would have been terrible if they had the match go down like that. Batista didn't do anything but just cover him.
Yep. Then you had, this happened, I think it was before or after that. I can't remember. I can't really remember when things happened in the match, but I know after the Batista bomb into the RKO spot, you know, they start wheeling Daniel Bryan out onto a stretcher, but then like he kind of has a Mick Foley during the Hell in a Cell match where he starts pushing the doctors away, and then he gets up and then he comes back to the match.
Right.
So yeah, all in all, the match was good. You had Triple H come out with Stephanie McMahon, and this was after the ref took a bump. So they pull out their crooked ref, Scott Armstrong, I think his name is, the one who did the fast count at Night of Champions, which basically finally confirms that that it was a setup, because it was brought up before. It was brought to my attention that they never really confirmed. They just implied that it was a setup, and implying anything in wrestling isn't, you know, an answer.
You know what's funny about that? I didn't realize it till now, but that's really good storytelling that Scott Armstrong made a second appearance, because I almost forgot about him being crooked, because it felt like such a long time ago. That's kind of like, look at these final obstacles we're going to throw in your face.
Right.
We even tried to come out during the main event.
See, the great thing about this is that even though it was forced and it was not their first decision to have things go like this, the WWE took a story that they never intended to make and then made it brilliant.
Right.
Because they were like, oh, okay, we'll bring back, you know, Scott Armstrong, you know, we'll do these little things here that kind of reference, you know, and kind of make it feel like that it was all supposed to be like this.
Yeah, the final stage of a video game.
So they took, you know, a piece of shit and turned it into fucking gold, you know? Mm-hmm. And it was great. Eventually, Bryan hits the knee on Batista, locks in the yes lock, and Batista taps out. You got a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the second ever, and it's Daniel Bryan. And he didn't let his supposed shoulder injury keep him from doing, the yes chant with a belt in each arm.
Yeah, just like we wanted, a belt in each arm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was a good moment. You had the confetti coming down, and yeah, it was a good time, man. It was a very special WrestleMania. Oh, and we didn't touch on the very beginning of WrestleMania either. Like, I can't believe we just completely glossed over it. Three of the, if not the three biggest names in wrestling were in the same ring for the very first time at the beginning of the show.
Right.
You had Hulk Hogan. He was interrupted by Stone Cold, and they were interrupted by The Rock. So you had all three of those guys interacting in the ring at the same time. One thing I thought was interesting, because there's actually a debate as to who is the biggest name in wrestling. Is it Hulk Hogan or is it Stone Cold? There are people that debate that, because you could make a claim for either one of the guys. To be completely honest.
You always hear oftentimes people say he's the biggest star. He's the biggest star.
Yeah.
It's separated by generations, pretty much.
Oh yeah. The thing is that plenty of people will say Hulk Hogan because everyone knows who Hulk Hogan is. He's a name that everybody knows, but everybody knows who Stone Cold is too.
Right.
Non-wrestling fans, they know who Stone Cold is. They know who Hulk Hogan is.
Everyone knows who The Rock is too.
Yeah, for the most part. So what I thought was interesting is that at least all of the 76,000 fans in the building, they answered who they thought was the bigger star, when Stone Cold said, "If y'all want me to whip Hulk Hogan's ass, give me a hell yeah." And then 76,000 people said hell yeah. And Stone Cold was like, "That's what I thought." So that was interesting, man. Fucking, it was definitely a big thing. Fucking 30 minutes in, we didn't have a match unless you count the pre-show, and it was already great. It was the only time you could justify having a 30-minute non-wrestling segment at WrestleMania.
That's amazing.
It was definitely awesome. No one got stunned. No one got rock bottom. Definitely no one got the leg drop.
How would they lay down long enough to sell that?
All right, but it was a good segment.
Yeah.
Now, the follow-up to the main event, we actually had a couple follow-ups to the main events. First, Triple H gets pissed and gives himself a title shot against Daniel Bryan on Raw. And at that, Randy Orton and Batista are pissed. So as a consolation prize, Triple H gives them a shot at the tag team titles.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, they don't even bother trying to actually win it. I think it ended in a double count out, and they just started beating up on the Usos and stuff. Now in the main event, of that show, you had Triple H versus Daniel Bryan. This was after Daniel Bryan just gets his ass completely whipped by Randy Orton and Batista. They came out before the match even started, just started beating the fuck out of him. Then Triple H comes out, and it looks like, oh man, he's just going to cover him, and that's going to be it. So the whole time, you're thinking, fuck, are we just going to see, is this going to be the end again, or is he going to be like a true badass and kick out of all that?
But showing off the Shield.
The Shield come out, and they do a standoff with Evolution. And once again, just like their standoffs with the Wyatt family, the crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome." And the whole time, fucking Triple H is playing mediator, saying, this is not happening, then he turns around and gets speared to fuck by Roman Reigns. Then, there's brawling. Eventually, Evolution, Randy Orton, Batista, and Kane get thrown out. And then the three members of the Shield are just kind of, fucking vulturing over Triple H. He stands up as slow as possible, Daniel Bryan, you see him sitting there in the corner. You know exactly what's going to happen. but you're just waiting for it. And, you know, he stands up slow as possible. Sure enough, he turns around, boom, gets nailed with the knee.
I,
We get...
I love when the person turns around like quickly and then they get hit by the move.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Speaking of that, too, when watching WWE Countdown, this is almost off topic, but not quite.
Huh.
One of the top finishers on the Countdown was the Sweet Chin music.
Hmm.
And eventually, you know, they have JBL explain, you know, the telegraphing and why it still works. Like, he's like, you know, whenever I used to see Shawn Michaels doing that, tuning up the band, you know, I'm like, man, why are these guys getting hit by that? They know they're just going to turn around and get their head kicked off. Then I find myself in a match with, you know, Shawn Michaels, and I'm lying on the ground and I'm coming to, and I hear this stomping noise. And I'm like, what the hell is that? So then I stand up, turn around, and get my head kicked off.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that was pretty cool that he acknowledged that, and it was kind of this kind of situation too, except not quite, because Daniel Bryan doesn't exactly have a you know, a tell for his, but you know, it's just a nice little nod to bring up there.
Yeah. You still can fall for that stuff.
Yeah. So at the end of the night, at the end of Raw, the biggest Raw of the year, we have the Shield doing their fist bump thing.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then right next to them we have Daniel Bryan doing the yeses, and it's just a nice way to close the show.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, obviously it's going to be a war feud for the next few pay-per-views, and it looks like an Extreme Rules match too.
I would love to see the Shield versus Evolution. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, and I'm sure the thing I like about how fast this WrestleMania season. It's the new WrestleMania season is starting, as you already can tell who's going to be at the next WrestleMania in a different role. Like, we might see Roman Reigns doing something different, Cesaro for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. This next year is going to tell a lot, and I'm looking forward to it because the new generation is definitely here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's, you know, we got all the older guys kind of leaving out, you know, not necessarily by their own free will, but you know, it's definitely looking good. Also, by the way, I think I know who our Diva of the Week is, and it's not a diva that anyone would be expecting, but I'm going to say our Diva of the Week is Lady Luck.
Lady Luck,
Yeah, and she's not a wrestler, but oh my God, is she fucking cruel this week. Fucking right after the induction into the Hall of Fame, right after his appearance on Raw.
Wow.
Fucking the world lost the Ultimate Warrior.
That's terrible. Like, right? Like, it wasn't even full 24 hours either.
I think it was a late Tuesday, after SmackDown had been taped, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
We're bound to see a graphic on SmackDown, but I don't think we'll see any references other than that because it was a taped show.
Well,
but
the references are on the network because they put WrestleMania 6 up, twice. So.
Yeah, they're gonna be mourning him for a while because that is fucked up. It seems like I can't even put like any kind of fucking spin on that. That's just fucked up.
Like, I wonder if he knew his time was short and he just happened to be inducted and all of that, and the timing was right. Because I'm like, why would he commit suicide? Why would it be suicide if he?
Yeah, it's not suicide.
Because he was in a much better place currently.
Yeah.
They put out a new DVD. He talked to the fans, you know.
But I mean, it almost kind of feels like he knew it was happening, though. I mean, if you look back at his promo on Raw, like
it was weird. It was like, well, where was he getting at? But now it kind of makes sense.
It's almost kind of a my job here is done kind of thing. Like, he finally reconciled with WWE, so now that it's all over, he can go in peace and shit. Like, you know, like, I don't know. It's really weird.
Some symbolic shit.
It's tragic that shit happened, but me being the guy that I am, like, I immediately made a joke out of it. You know, I figured like it was probably murder. It was Triple H. You know, he shot him in the head, and he's like, "No, sell that, bitch." You know,
Reality
because
era.
yeah, because like you know, the only person to ever kick out of Triple H's pedigree at well, he didn't even kick out. He didn't even get pinned. Warrior got pedigreed and then got right back up like it wasn't shit.
Purchase lasts forever.
Yeah, like you know, like obviously that's not what happened. That'd be stupid if somebody legitimately thought that, but
Right. As stupid as if Rikishi really hit Stone Cold with a car.
Yeah, he did it for The Rock.
Oh man. But yeah, like rest in peace, Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah. I bet whoever's watching this might have thought we weren't even going to mention him at this point. It was already an hour through the show.
Right, like how come they didn't mention the Warrior? I'm stuck watching.
Yep, but we got to him even though we like pretty much sacrificed the Diva of the Week for it.
Lady Luck.
Good old Lady Luck. She will go down forever in history as being the most dominant female in sports entertainment history.
Yeah.
No one gets up from her finishing move.
Huh. She may have contributed to beating the streak with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
She managed Brock Lesnar along with Paul Heyman.
Right. Yep, she's a Paul Heyman gal.
Right.
Well, on that note, I think it's a good time to call it quits. We had a lot of stuff to cover. We didn't really have too many breaks in between there either. It was just a non-stop stream going. All right. You have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts is, you know, for all who's been watching so far, you know, the few of you fans, thanks. You know, we do this because we actually love pro wrestling. We're not doing it for the views and stuff. We would hope that people look at it one day, but we're just gonna continue this for, you know, as long as we want.
I mean, at its core, it's just two guys talking about wrestling. Even if there's nobody listening, we're still having a conversation.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna make this as serious as when the Brawl pre-show or something. we're just kind of shooting shit, talking.
They're talking completely in kayfabe and shit.
Right, and Josh Matthews always looks nervous when they almost get off topic.
I mean, like when you think about it, Josh Matthews, man, he's not a wrestler, and like literally, the people he's talking to on those shows have no reason to respect him, but he's still got to find a way to be the mediator. Like, how do you do that? How do you be a guy like Josh Matthews, and then find a way to interrupt Ric Flair and Booker T talking? Like, how do you do that?
That's why they put Michael Cole with Ric Flair and Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say.
All right. Well, this has been MAWS Talks Wrestling. We have been your hosts. I am Lunakage.
I am Glenburg.
And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Good night.